All right, let's continue with turn 2 of this tutorial session of Retaking Vierville. But first, a couple notes that were brought up to me in YouTube chat, and I think a post on Facebook. Two things. One, Panzerfaust are not available in this scenario. I forgot that they were not added until either Starter Kit 2 or 3, and then only if there are enemy AFVs in play, which is different than full ASL, which is Panzerfaust are uses date dependent only. There's nothing with regards to special scenario rules or that AFVs be in play. So the Panzerfaust are not in play in Retaking Vierville. The other point is about the victory conditions that I read. I think I implied that there's a control victory condition in play, which is not true. The Americans, all they have to do is ensure that there are no good order German units in any of the buildings. That's all they have to do, which means the Americans don't even have to occupy any of these victory condition buildings. They just have to ensure they're either empty, that there is, or that there's no good order German unit in the building, meaning the unit must be broke, or you could even hold it in melee. You could jump in, the Americans could jump in at the last moment in a close combat and hope that there's no resolution and they're held in melee at the end of the game. That would mean the German unit is not in good order. Basically, broken or probably held in melee by an American unit would keep the Germans from having a good order enemy unit in those hexes. Okay, now let's jump into a little tactical evaluation before we actually start turn 2. And if you don't want to listen to any of this stuff, just jump to the timestamps and you can go directly to where we kick off the play of the German rally phase. But I want to talk a little bit about this situation down here. If you watch the first turn, you saw that I brought this American platoon up to the wheat here, using the wheat as cover, and I brought them up as a stack because the only thing that could really fire on them was this unit here, and there were hindrances and there was no moving in the open because I was moving through the grain. And they got off they rolled snake eyes on a subsequent first fire attack in this hex, and basically broke everything in the hex. I don't think anything was eliminated if I recall, but no, basically broke everything in the hex except this unit which got pinned. I could have kept them there, all the broken units. They weren't required to route because that's not an open ground hex, but I decided to route them back here. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have done that because what we have coming on here, coming on this side of the board, are these units. They're going to be coming on along this east edge somewhere. And if I choose to bring them on over here, that could present significant problems for these broken units right on the edge of the board in these woods. I could basically, surround them or position the German units in such a way that these are eliminated for failure to route. But the problem of that is that could compromise the German attack on the town, because what that's going to do, depending on how many units I commit to that, if I do, is they're only going to get into this area to try to compromise these American units and get them for failure to route. They're not going to get too far onto the board, and they probably won't get on far enough to really cover any American units that I bring on up here. Or what's going to happen is they're going to be bogged down here, and I could bring American paratroopers on right next to them. Not that I would choose to, but it's an option, with their formidable firepower and their assault fire right next to them. Now, these German elite units also have assault fire as well, so keep that in mind. So there's a choice that needs to be made by both the Germans if they choose to come on here, try to get these guys, and then later the Americans, if they choose to come on here and kind of duke it out in the wheat here, in the grain fields here, or if they come in later up here and try to take advantage of the Germans being bogged down here and not covering this. The other options for the Germans is I could bring them I should be writing with my fancy pens. So trying kind of surrounding, that's one option for these Germans here. Or I could bring them on, probably, something like this to get into, use this cover here and get them into these stone buildings or into these woods and get across like this and bring firepower into those units. That's another option because everything is going to be coming on the east side of the board for the Germans coming up on the next 2 turns. Yeah, so that's the options for the Germans. But my point being was these poor Americans, because I routed them back there. I probably should have left them there. They're going to be in a potentially a world of hurt. They could be eliminated, and I may take that risk with the Germans just to knock these guys out. But these guys are going to be at risk too because they're going to be stuck in the wheat field here right after that. And don't discount this single paratrooper squad, 747. They could cause some problems with these Germans in either point blank fire or at least normal fire as they come on, leaving residual. If some of these guys break, they could be in the same position when the Americans, if I choose to bring the Americans on here, if some of these Germans are broken in the same area, if they're broken here or here or here or wherever, they're going to be in the same position. They could be eliminated for failure to route. So this area here is could turn into a mini little hot spot in Vierville. We'll see how that goes. Let me clean this up and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, let's start with turn 2. Let's do the rally phase. German rally phase first. They have nothing to rally. I've already set up my German units that I just spoke about to come on the east edge. No Germans to rally, so let's go to American rally. I think, yeah, there's a leader here and a leader here. Let's go ahead and start down here. Try to rally the leader. They are in rally terrain. They are in woods. So there's a -1 for being in rally terrain, but there's a +1 for self rally. So it's going to be an even rally attempt, but there's a +4 for DM. So that leader basically needs a 4 to rally. And if he doesn't rally, he won't be able to rally any of the units beneath him. Nope. DM goes off. Let's go up here. This leader is in good order. Rally terrain. Rally terrain is -1. Leadership modifier is -1, so that's -2. +4 for DM, so it's a +2 total. And he has an 8 morale. So I'm going to need a 6 to rally this guy, which would be nice for the Americans. And does not rally. DM counter goes away. No other activity in the rally phase, so let's move to German prep fire. Let's go ahead and start here. Let's do a fire group. These 2 squads, I'm going to fire on this paratrooper unit. He is at double firepower, point blank. So 8 + 4, it's going to be a 12. +1 for the hindrance along this edge from this unit, then +3 for the building. So it's going to be a 12 +4 stone building. Oops. 12 +4. Let me mark these guys. Prep fire. Do the roll. 12 +4. 6. Where's my chart? Oh yeah, I'll pop the chart up over here for you guys during the play. It's going to be a 10 on a 12. There's a pin check on this unit here. They are okay. Kind of a waste of a really good roll, but they pass. They're not pinned. I think I will fire. Yeah, I'm going to fire these 2 squads on this squad here. It's going to be an 8. 2 squads. No hindrances, just the stone building. It's going to be an 8 +3 shot. Basically, I need like a 5 or a 6 at least. Nope, it's a 9. Oop, that was a 4. It's a nothing. Prep fire. Dug into these stone buildings. It's hard to get them out. And I can just I'll be able to advance these guys in there, or I could run these guys around like this to jump in there. So I think that's it for prep fire. So let's move to the movement phase. And am I gonna bring the Germans in here and try to disrupt these guys and get them for failure to rout, coming under fire from these guys, or Americans that might come on here next, the bottom of the second turn. And I think I'm going to do that. It's too juicy to pass up to try this, to try to eliminate these guys for failure to rout. Let's start here in U10. I'm going to have one of these elite squads. So I could assault move to there, or I could just move directly to there, but I'd probably take a point blank shot from these guys at a 12 minus 1, which could be ugly. This is enough to get these guys on DM and potentially eliminate them. So I think I'm just going to assault move to there and stop. And I think I will first fire the squad there. That's going to be a 6 firepower, +1 hindrance. It isn't +2 hindrances. It's just +1 for going down the hex spine. And then there's no terrain effect modifier, and there's no non-assault movement penalty or moving in the open penalty. So it's just going to be a 6 + 1 shot. First fire marker. 6 + 1. 4, 5 on a 6. 1 MC. Yeah. Well, he got a morale of 8. That's pretty good. They passed. Now residual. There is 1 hindrance, so it's going to leave. Residual is half the firepower, so it's going to be 3. Goes down to a 2 due to the infantry fire table. There is no 3, which goes down to a 1 because there's 1 hindrance that reduces it by 1 column. For each positive modifier, it's reduced by 1 column. So there's 1 residual there. So if I moved another unit into there, they would automatically be hit by 1 firepower factor. Let's go to S10. Well, let me first mark these guys DM. There's an enemy unit adjacent to them. They're automatically marked with a DM when that happens. And let's assault move these guys into S10. And these guys, this squad, American squad, is going to subsequent first fire. So it's going to be half, 3.5, which goes down to a 2. And again, it's just going to be a +1 hindrance. So that's going to be a 2 + 1 shot. 7 on a 2, just missed a pin check. And that will leave no residual on that side. Now these guys are final fired, which means anything else I bring on pretty much has free reign to run around unless I move adjacent to them, and then they could do a final protective fire, but I'm not sure I will do that. So I have 1 more squad and a leader to bring on. I think I will bring them on. I just need to be careful of these guys firing. Range of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, he might be able to fire. That would be probably a 2 minus 1 shot. Maybe I should take a shot because I can do a fire group here. That guy's broken there. Could still do a fire group on him and get 12 + 3. Yeah, if I could get rid of him or even break him. But I have more units to come on. These guys, because I didn't get any effect with this squad here, I wasn't able to break these guys or anything. These guys are pretty much toast at this point. I don't know if I want to waste a shot on these guys, because even if I broke them, I have these other 2 units that I could bring on that could basically cause these guys to be eliminated. And if I final protective fire these guys and they broke, they really wouldn't have anywhere to route, especially if I did something like brought them up like this, like that. They final protective fired at this point and they broke, they would be eliminated as well. So I don't even know if I would final protective fire them, given the opportunity. In fact, that's pretty good. I'm going to make that move right there. Let's do that. So let's go 2. This would be 2, 3.5, 5. Well, I can't make it there unless I run through this one residual. And that would be a 1-1 if I did an assault move. Nah, it's not worth the risk. I'm just going to go like this. I'm going to go 2 into the woods, 3.5, and 5. Top. Up here, let's go, let's see, any line of sight. That's probably blocked. Let's move this unit. Let's go 2, 3. Don't think these guys have a line of sight. No. These guys don't. So I don't think they do. No. Yeah, got no fire there. I think I'll leave these guys here. I think that's it for German turn 2 movements. Let's go to defensive final fire. These guys are final fired. So all I have left are these 2 squads here. I could unload, could fire him there and him there, or just unload on there. That would be a 14, be a 28. That'd be a 24 plus 3. Or I could go a 12 plus 3 and a 6 plus 4. 6 plus 4 isn't going to get it. I would need a 2 or a 3. Or I could do 2 12 plus 3 shots on there, or a 24 plus 3. Let's do 2 12 plus 3s. Let's start with this guy here. That's 14, doubled 14, down to a 12 on the fire table, plus 3. Mark them final fired, roll the dice. 12 plus 3, they cowered, so it goes down to an 8 plus 3. So it's a 7 on an 8, which is a 1 MC, 1 morale check. And 9, they broke, I believe. Yeah, they broke. Well within ELR. Get rid of the prep fire. Now these guys are already broken. DM counter. I could try to break this leader. That'd be a 6 plus 3. Or I could beat on him again with these guys at 12 plus 3 and maybe get another break and a casualty reduction. I don't think I would have much luck there. Be nice to break that leader there. But the odds are a 6 plus 3. Yeah, I need a 2 or 3 result. Let's fire on here again. I got 12 plus 3 again. Same roll, coward, same result. 7 on 8 is a 1 morale check. Am I running out of counters here? No, there's a final fire counter. 1 MC on there. DM does not count for morale checks, only for rally. It's right on the counter there, so that does not count. Just a regular morale check. Add 1 to the die roll here. Oh boy, that is bad news for the Germans. So they rolled a casualty morale check, 12, which also means they failed the morale check. But basically, a casualty morale check for a broken unit eliminates it. And another way to look at that is they failed their morale check, which would have reduced them to a half squad, and then a casualty morale check basically eliminates a half squad. So a full squad that has a casualty morale check is automatically eliminated. So decent rolls by the Americans, really crap roll by the Germans. Took out that German unit in that building there. Defensive fire, that's it. That's all I have. That's all I can do. Let's move on to German advancing fire. Get rid of clean up the defensive stuff here. Should have got rid of that residual firepower right after movement. Notice that It's green, so you can get rid of it right after the movement phase. Advancing fire, German advancing fire. Let's start over here with Lieutenant Tichy, I guess it is. They'll fire on the paratroop unit here. Now they have assault fire, underline 5. So it's going to be 5 down to 2.5. Add 1, it's 3.5. Round up to the nearest whole number, which is 4. So it's going to be 4 firepower plus 1 hindrance minus 1 leadership. So assault fire gives them a 4 even shot on there. 4 even. 7 out of 4 is a pin check in the American squad. No big deal. They fail, but it's no big deal. It's not even the Americans' turn. He can't move anyway. And then these guys here. Oops, I do not even need to fire on these units. They're going to be eliminated. So I guess I'll do 2 4+1 shots. Same math here, except there's a hindrance and no leadership. But same assault fire. 4+1 and then 4+1. I'll roll twice. 7 out of 4, another pin check. He's already pinned. 4+1. It's a nothing. They cowered. It's going to hurt to lose these Americans. That was a risk I took and got really unlucky with those guys. Yeah, he can't. I guess I should have probably fired him, but all he could fire at was down here anyway. That's it for advancing fire. He can't see anything. All he can see is this unit. He didn't fire in the prep fire. I could fire him at 2 firepower if it's clear. 2 even on there. I should have fired him in prep fire. 2 even if it's clear. It's going to be nothing anyway. I'm not going to mark him because that's the end of advancing fire. Route. Here we go. I should have put fire on him. That's going to hurt me. That fired both of these units there. I should have fired something. Oh, I could. I could fire 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'll fire. I'll back it up just slightly, just so I can put DM on there. 2 plus 3. Is that possible? Yeah, with cowering, yeah, I could still get a pin check. Let me go ahead and roll that up. It's going to be nothing, but at least I'll DM these guys. Remember to do that when you're playing. Always try to keep enemy units under DM if possible. So that shot was they moved, so it's half firepower. It's within normal range. So it's a 2 plus 3. And if you take cowering into effect, that would be a 1 plus 3. I'd have to roll snake eyes to get a pin check, so it's still a possibility. Thus, it puts them under DM. Okay. Route. These guys do not have to route. They're in stone building. Oop! I just nuked this stack here, which is what's going to happen to them. These guys here have to route because they're adjacent to enemy units, and they only have one place they can route out, which is here. They're violating a bunch of rules. They're still moving adjacent to enemy units. They're moving closer to no other known enemy units. So all of these guys are KIA'd. They're lost for failure to route. So the Americans lost a 8-1 leader and a 2 paratroop squads. So the lesson here is when you have broken units on the edge of the board, if you're the opposing side, if you can find ways to eliminate them for failure to route, to do that, because eliminating them for failure to route is one of the most effective way of eliminating enemy units in ASL. ASL is really hard to get KIAs, straight out KIAs. It happens once in a while. There are more effective ways of eliminating units. One of them is just keeping them under DM or getting multiple morale check failures for casualty reductions. And failure to rout is another one. So try to do everything you can to get units for failure to rout if they're in a position to do that, which happened to these guys with their really crap luck. So goodbye, American paratroopers. Thank you for your service. German advance phase. I don't know if I want to get close to these guys. I could make just a gnarly fire group here. Well, I want to get titchy up here into the action in case American units come on. Up here, I can eliminate a potential hindrance firing through if I'm firing up in this direction. Now these two units, I could do something like this, so I could get a huge fire group here going, or I could do something like that, have fire group here, fire group here. Let's do this. I'm going to do that. Over here, I'm going to advance this guy here. I'm going to leave that guy there. Have one fire group that can concentrate on firing here. Now, do I want to... I don't know if I want to advance a guy up here again. That was kind of brutal. Although I did roll really well. I have a leader right here. And theoretically, they could route back. At least at this point, there's no American units in line of sight for them. If they were here to break and come back, that would still be legal. But it's going to be the Americans' prep fire. They could lay the lumber on me there and just break me again, being up close. So maybe I should wait till I can get some more firepower in next turn up in this direction to distract the Americans and divide up their fire. Maybe I'll leave these guys here and I'll leave them there to cover Americans coming on. I think that's all I'm going to do for German advance. No close combat. Remove the pin counter. It's red. Remove it at the end of close combat phase, or close combat phase right here in red. Get rid of that. The pin didn't really affect them. It wasn't the Americans' turn. There wasn't an opportunity to move or advance anyway. And that's it for German turn 2. That's turn 2, American turn 2 right now. Okay, on the American turn 2, I have two paratrooper squads and an 8-0 leader coming on this edge, and I have them set up. So let's start with American rally. The Germans don't have anything anyway, so all I have here is this unit. I think I needed a 6 before. Rally terrain, -1, -1 leadership, +4 DM is a +2 total. I need a 6 to rally that squad. And I barely missed it. They're going to be under DM a lot of the game, I have a feeling. American prep. What to do? Do I try to break up this fire group? Or do I skedaddle out of here? I could assault move to there. Well, these guys aren't going anywhere, so let's fire. Let's fire these guys. I don't know if they can see. They might be able to see that squad back there. They can definitely see them. I have these guys in the orchard. I think these guys might take a shot at the guys on the orchard here. It's going to be a 6 even. No hindrances. Orchard is not a terrain effect modifier. Has no terrain effect modifier, so it's going to be a 6 even. It's garbage roll. These guys here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could fire down there. That'd be a 2 + 1. I think I could fire here. That'd be a 6 + 3 or a 6 + 3. I think I'm going to fire here. Try to take a shot here. Let me see if that's clear. Ooh, I didn't see that little corner right there. Now I think I might be blocked. I think I just bumped the camera. Yeah, it's blocked. Just barely. I'll roll it up anyway. Okay, what am I going to do with this American paratrooper? Fire or move? Fire or move? If I stay, they're going to get blasted. If I move Americans on here, they might draw some fire away. This was a fire group, it would be 15 times 2, 30, 30 even if they didn't fire at anything else. Like if the Americans came in way up here. Could also bring the Americans right on here, right in their face. Take some fire. But again, if I did that and they broke, they would be eliminated. So I probably, as much as I'd like to bring the Americans on here to try to save this unit, I'm going to have to either bring them on here, somewhere up here, like this, something like this. There's no way I could risk bringing them on here point blank, which means these guys probably won't have much opportunity to defensive first fire at anything. So they'll be able to final fire on unload on this guy. So I'm gonna assault. We're gonna go to skip directly to movement phase. Let's assault move to there. Do I want to fire anything? I might want to fire these two guys on here. That would be a 8+1 for the hindrance. Non-assault movement penalty does not apply because he did assault move. Okay, that'd be an 8+1. I'll do that. These two units will fire on there. 8+1. 6 on an 8 is a 1 MC over here on the chart. Let me mark these guys. First fired. 1 MC for the paratrooper squad. 12. Ooh, they almost ELR'd. Final die roll is a 12. Their ELR is 5. But they did break miserably, and these guys may be eliminated for failure to rout here soon. Bad start for the Americans. One roll. This low risk move through the green and a measly 2 even, I think it was, maybe a 2-1. Uh, Basically is going to screw up a third of the American forces almost coming on board here. First fired. Okay, let's bring on the two squads and my other leader here. I am making the choice to bring them on up here on this side, something like this, to at least take advantage of the grain and potentially the hindrance of this orchard if any fire comes from the Germans up in this direction like this. These orchards will block, and this grain field will potentially block any fire coming up this way. And now, as far as routing goes, if the Americans happen to break in this area, they're probably going to route back to here. So I'm going to make sure I put my leader in that hex, get him into that hex just to account for that. Let me clean this up. Okay, American movement phase. I'm going to need a nice clean American movement to have a chance at this. Double time this first squad for 1.5. I'm not going to fire any of these guys yet. Their range is 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not going to fire at least until they get into this area. 1.5, 3, 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, he's in range, but I have more hindrances here. 6. Mark him double time. I could fire one or both of these squads. Yeah, there's going to be some hindrances here. And these guys don't have much of a shot. They have a range of 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're gonna get much fire on these guys at this point. So let me fire. I also have this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's only gonna be able to bring like 2 firepower at this point. But I think I'll save him for a fire group down here. Let me fire one of these guys. Let me fire this squad here. Looks like it hits the orchard, so that's going to be a 4. They're not assault moving. They're double timing. They're hauling ass through the grain here. So it's going to be a 4 plus 1 hindrance minus 1 non-assault movement. That's going to be a 4 even. Ten, they no effect. They cowered. Thus, they are marked final fire. They cannot fire again. 1 hindrance, so they cowered. It was a 4. Residual goes down to 2, and then they cowered, which goes down to 1, and then there's 1 hindrance, which means there's 0 residual firepower. It gets reduced all the way down to 0 due to cowering and then the hindrance. I'm going to save this guy. I'm going to fire him at this other squad. Let's bring the other squad in. They're going to double time as well. They're going to go get my double time CX. Okay, 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6. Let's fire this squad. It's just going to nick. It's going to write down this hex side, so we're going to get that hindrance. But he is not assault moving, so it's going to be, it's within range, so 4 firepower, plus 1 hindrance, minus 1 non-assault moving. It's going to be 4 even again with those guys. 9 and a 4 is nothing. They are first fired. Now they cannot fire again because they spent 1.5, and 1.5 is rounded down to 1. They only expended 1 movement factor from the point of view of first fire, so they could not be fired on again by this unit here. Do I want to fire these guys? Probably. I'm not going to get anything. Range of 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be half firepower. 2.5 down to 2. Plus 1 hindrance, minus 1 non-assault movement, minus 1 leader. So it's going to be a 2 minus 1 long range. Oh, residual. That would have left 1 residual there because of the hindrance. 4 down to 2, and then down to 1 for the hindrance. Nothing's going to move in there, but what did I say? This is going to be a 2 firepower, plus 1, minus 1, minus 1 non-assault movement. So a 2 minus 1. The bane of my existence. 2 firepower. 7 and a 2 is a nothing. First fired. Again, they could not fire at them again for 2 reasons. 1, there's a enemy unit closer. 2, they only expended 1 movement factor for first fire purposes. I don't think I want to fire this guy over there. It's going to be long range. I think I'm going to do a big fire group and try to get something going here or even here. Well, I definitely want to get DM on them, but I don't know if I want to do the whole fire group. Getting ahead of myself. Okay, let's bring on the leader. So the leader's going to go 1.5, 3, 4, 5. In case something breaks, there's going to be probably a route path back to this building. No point in stacking an 8-0 leader with these guys. The only purpose might be to avoid cowering, but it's not really worth the risk. I'd rather have him as a rally base in the back somewhere for in the route path somewhere. Not going to move these guys. I think that's it for the movement phase. Final fire, defensive fire. All these guys marked first fire. can't shoot anything. If something was adjacent to them, they could fire one more time. Same with these guys, they can't fire. So all I have left are these guys over here. I think I'm gonna do one squad on here just to DM, and then fire group these two onto this squad here. So let's fire squad PP onto here. 4+3. Let me just throw the DM on there already. 4+3. Nothing. Then I'll fire group these guys and go 8+3. 9 on 8. It's a pin check. Let me mark those guys. Am I running out of final fire count? Oh, I have one, just enough. I don't want to dig any more out. I thought I got enough out. Pin check on those guys. A 9 on an 8. Pin check. They are pinned. Again, I don't think these guys are going to go anywhere either. And that's it for defensive final fire. Let's remove all these. Should have removed that after the movement phase again. Getting sloppy. I like playing with counters, but Vassal has a lot of neat things built into it. I can hit one button and clear all these utility counters off. Boom, they're all gone. Playing with real counters, you have to go through and pick them all off, and if you're playing a big scenario, that can take a while and be a pain in the butt. All right, let's do American Advancing Fire. The only things that moved were these squads and the leader, so let's Advancing Fire. They have Assault Fire, these two squads, but they are CX. I'm going to fire them on this squad here. Let's do the math on the Assault Fire. Move the CX to the side. This unit is within range, 1, 2, 3, 4. This unit is out of range, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he cannot use Assault Fire. He just has to use normal fire. But let's do the Assault Fire math on this one, and then we'll add the regular firepower to this one. So for this squad, we've got 7, down to 3.5 for Advancing Fire, +1 up to 4.5, and then round that up to 5 for Assault Fire. So he's got 5 firepower. Then this squad back here is just going to have to fire normally. He cannot assault fire because he's out of normal range. It's going to be, excuse me, 3.5, then down to 1.75, 3.5 for advancing fire, down to 1.75, again, half again because he's out of range. So that's 1.75. Total is 6.75, which rounds down to 6 on the infantry fire table over here. And we're going to have, for modifiers, they're both CX. Even if only one were CX, they'd be affected. The fire group would be affected by CX. So it's +1, +2 for the hindrance, another +3 for this stone building. So it's going to be a 6 + 5. And it's going to take a miracle. That ain't it. Okay. I'm not going to mark them because there's nothing else to advancing fire. Let's go to route. Let me remove this. Move the prep fire here. Route. It's American route. They don't have to route. They're under DM. They do not have to route. They are under, and they're not going to route. They are under DM. Technically, they don't have the route. They are not in open ground. They are in grain. But if I chose to route, their target would be R7, the building right next door. Now, could they route there? And I think the answer is yes, because they don't have line of sight to any of these units or any of these units way back here. None of these are known units. So they could route to here, and then right when they enter that building, they would immediately see these units and they would stop. If they could continue to keep routing, they would have to stop there. So I'm just going to route. I'd rather have them sitting in a +3 stone building than sitting in a 0-10 grain field at this point. And the Germans have nothing to route because currently they are stomping on the Americans. Advance phase. You can't advance. He's not going to advance. They're just gonna stick it out there. Sergeant Hahn is gonna stay in the building as a route base if he needs it. And I'm gonna advance these 2 squads here. I'm gonna move them. I wanna get them out here, but I want to take advantage of this hindrance here. So I'm thinking if I advance like this, any fire from these guys is going to go through this hindrance, which is going to add a +1 to any of their shots. So I'm going to advance them out into the open ground like that. And maybe rely on smoke next turn to get them a little further next American turn. That's it for American advance. And there was no close combat. Nobody advanced into the same hex to have close combat. And that is it for Retaking Vierville turn 2. Unfortunate for the Americans this turn, they took a bunch of heavy losses because of the repercussions of what happened in this hex on turn 1. Broke all those guys, and then the Germans decided to come on here and eliminated the Americans here for failure to rout. That really hurt the Americans. So the Americans have a really uphill battle in this scenario because of that one lucky German roll there. So we'll see what happens in turn 3, and I'll have that probably in a few days after this video goes live up on the channel. Please leave comments. I appreciate it. Give me a thumbs up. That way the YouTube search engine recognizes ASL videos. So be sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.